floods, plagues, fire from heaven. The Old Testament presents a creator who acts with overwhelming force, at times to judge evil, at times to uphold law, and at times to protect a chosen people. But those same actions, the killing of children, the endorsement of slavery, the destruction of entire nations, have led many to ask whether this is truly the picture of a perfectly good God. For traditional Christians, these events are part of a just and holy plan, complex but ultimately righteous. For Gnostic Christians, they point to something far more radical, that the God of the Old Testament was not the true God at all. So we ask, can the violence of the Old Testament be reconciled with divine goodness? Or does it reveal a darker origin of the Creator himself? Sophia, begin when you're ready.
The Bible's earliest God is not a being of peace. He's a being of force, vengeance, and law. He commands the slaughter of entire peoples. Do not spare them, but kill both man and woman, child and infant. 1 Samuel 15:3. He legalizes the ownership of human beings. You may buy male and female slaves, they become your property. Leviticus 25:44-46. And this isn't rare, it's a pattern. From the drowning of all life in Genesis, to the plagues on Egypt's children, to the burning of cities like Sodom. This God doesn't just punish sin, he defines himself through control, hierarchy, and fear. The Gnostics saw this and asked, what if we've mistaken the architect for the absolute? In the Apocryphon of John, this lesser creator, Yaldabaoth, says, I am God and there is no other beside me, not out of truth, but out of blindness. He does not know the higher realms. He creates in ignorance and then rules in arrogance. This doesn't mean the creator is Satan. Gnostics didn't see him as evil in the cartoon sense, but as an incomplete, flawed being who built a flawed world. Jesus comes not to fulfill his plan, but to reveal the truth beyond it. He offers mercy where the law demands death. He forgives without sacrifice. He speaks of a hidden Father, unknown to the world of power and blood.
But you can't call justice violence, just because it's uncomfortable. The God of the Old Testament does act decisively, but always for a moral reason. The flood follows a world filled with corruption and violence. Amalek is judged for ambushing Israel's most vulnerable. Sodom is condemned for arrogance and cruelty. And slavery? The ancient world was built on it, everywhere from Egypt to Babylon to Rome. But the Mosaic Law actually restrained it. Slaves had legal rights. Hebrews were released every 7 years. Runaway slaves were not to be returned to their masters. Compared to Assyria or Canaanite systems, this was revolutionary. More importantly, this law was not the final word. It was a guide for a particular time, a nation learning slowly what holiness meant. Jesus doesn't overthrow that God. He reveals his heart, mercy, yes, but also justice. He calls him Father, worships in the temple, and says, I and the Father are one. If you reject the God of the Old Testament, you're rejecting the one Jesus claimed as his own.
But claiming someone as Father doesn't mean you're endorsing their actions. Jesus constantly contrasts himself with the law. You have heard it said, an eye for an eye, but I tell you, Matthew 5:38-39. Moses allowed divorce because your hearts were hard. Matthew 19:8. He's not affirming the old ways, he's overriding them. And what about ritual purity? The law excludes menstruating women, the disabled, the blind, even crushed testicles disqualify a priest. Leviticus 21:20. Jesus welcomes them all. Even the temple, the most sacred institution in Israel, he flips upside down. And slavery? Legal nuance doesn't erase the core issue. The Creator gave permission to own other people. A God of perfect love would never sanctify a caste of masters and human property. As for his prayers, yes, Jesus prays. But to whom? In the Gospel of Truth, it says he spoke of the Father, the incomprehensible one, whom the world did not know. He's not praying to the God who demanded burnt offerings. He's reaching to the God who needs nothing, who dwells beyond the veil, the source of being, not the enforcer of rules.
But you're reinterpreting Jesus to fit a framework that rejects his own roots. He doesn't just call God Father. He ties himself to the covenant. He says the law and the prophets point to him, Luke 24, verse 44. He calls the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob his God. And even in the New Testament, divine judgment doesn't disappear. Jesus warns of hell. He drives out temple merchants with a whip. He says, "Do not fear those who kill the body. Fear him who can destroy both body and soul in hell." Matthew 10:28. The problem isn't that the Old Testament God is violent. The problem is our view of violence. We see only wrath, when what's actually there is holiness confronting corruption. The cross isn't the rejection of that God. It's the moment that God takes his own justice upon himself, out of love.
Or the cross is the ultimate protest against the entire system of sacrifice. The Creator demanded blood for centuries. Jesus ends it. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Matthew 9:13. In the Gospel of Philip, it says, Christ came to correct the error. That error wasn't simply sin. It was mistaking the Creator for the absolute. We've confused the architect of this world with the source of divine love. And when Jesus says, "My kingdom is not of this world," he's rejecting more than politics. He's rejecting the world system itself, the very logic of law, violence, and control that the Old Testament God used to rule. Jesus doesn't kill, he heals. He doesn't judge, he liberates. He doesn't enforce the covenant, he reveals the source beyond it.
You've just seen one chapter of the debate, but the story doesn't end here. Every argument, every revelation, every turning point is waiting for you in the full debate. Did Jesus worship the God of the Old Testament? Click on the end screen now to watch the complete AI versus AI debate and see how both sides unfold their final case. Stay curious, and I'll see you there.